Go. Right, welcome to the TCW Podcast. Just before Christmas, I'm joined by Matthew and Josh. So I'll go with the first question with you, Matthew. As we're approaching the end of 2024, what's been your takeaway from this year with Marine, really? Even going from last season and into this season.
I don't know if it's harsh or not to call it a year of two halves. I think obviously the first half of the year was absolutely amazing, wasn't it? Getting promoted to the National League North, the highest position Marine have ever been in the pyramid. But we found it tough, haven't we? So it's been a bit of a dampener on what was like a really excellent start to 2024 with the promotion. But yeah, everyone knew it was going to be tough, didn't they? I think it's a bit harsh to say that it's kind of taken away from the great year that we've had as a club.
Yeah, I go the same with you, Josh.
Yeah, I think Matt's hit the nail on the head, to be honest with you. It has been a season of two halves, hasn't it? Like, you look from start of the year and then the run we went on and then Macclesfield, and nobody gives a hope, did they? And then obviously you fast forward to this season and where we are halfway through it, and yeah, it's been tough, hasn't it? I mean, for me, probably did the National League North maybe come a season too soon. You could probably look to argue that, and I'm not taking away anything from what Neil or the squad have done, or even the people behind the scenes, all the volunteers, who worked the backsides off. But I just think maybe for those, especially playing squad wise, it might have just come a year too soon. But we're still in with a shout of staying up there. I think we're only 2 or 3 points off. You've seen how results can swing in this league, so just going into it with a bit of hope. I think we'll probably touch on it, won't we? But I think how we recruit maybe over the next month or two will probably be the big tell of whether we'll stay up or not.
Yeah, go with you, Matthew, on this one. But what were your thoughts of this season? I mean, I'll give you my thoughts. Like the majority of the teams we played against, I feel like we've competed in all the games. But obviously goals are a big issue. So how do you think you can see where we are in the league table, but in terms of the games, how do you think we've done then, this season?
Yeah, I agree with you, to be honest. I think we've competed, well in large spells for most of the games, but we haven't got the points to back it up. So ultimately, it really means nothing, like how well you compete in a match if you're not scoring goals. And that's ultimately the bottom line, is that, we've scored 2 goals in 9 away games in the league, or whatever it is. So that's ultimately what's going to cost us, if we are to go down. But the home form has been good the last month or so. We probably should have got a point out of the Scunthorpe game at least, and we probably should have beaten Spennymoor if it wasn't for a couple of lapses of concentration which crept in towards the end of the games. But yeah, the points, the board table doesn't lie, does it? You know what I mean? We're probably where we deserve to be for how we've done in the final third this year.
Yeah, and just the same question to you, Josh.
Yeah, exactly that, isn't it? If you look at it, I think again what Matt just said pretty much hit the nail on the head. I think for me it's just been frustration, to be honest with you, because of I think performances. If you look at the Scunthorpe game a couple of weeks ago, it was a Scunthorpe, and they were just dogs, and they were awful, and they're going for a playoff. They're in the playoffs, and we were a better team for 80 minutes, and then just switched off. All right, refereeing decisions went against us as well. I won't get into that, but like you say, we're playing well, but I don't know if it's like a lack of experience maybe, and being a bit more sneaky, being a bit more into dark arts as such, where I think these more experienced teams are better than that at us, and I think maybe a bit of naivety might be showing at times, but I just think we've been desperately unlucky, haven't we? If you look at probably some of these games, maybe if we just would have took a point or two, we would have been safe probably by now. So it's just been tough, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm getting into that Scunthorpe position later on this. But obviously looking on the league table, obviously just go through reviews here. Rushall on 12 points, Needham on 17 points, Radcliffe played a game less, they're on 18, Marine on 18 points, Farsley on 21 points, Warrington 24 and Oxford 25. I mean, yeah, do you think there is all them teams I've mentioned is basically it's going to be 4 out of them teams? I'll go with you, Matthew.
Yeah, to be honest, that's the simple answer to the question. I think a couple of teams have managed to distance themselves from it a bit, haven't they? The likes of Darlington, who were near down the bottom at the start of the season, have done well to get out of it. But no, we just need to focus on ourselves. Don't we? Like we always say, there's no point looking at like other results in the league. If we're not picking up any points ourselves, and it's been the same really. It's away from home. Like we don't seem to threaten at all. Like I was at South Shields on Saturday, and the manager will say we created chances, and we had a lot of opportunities, but we didn't really. We had a couple of corners and free kicks which we might have made something out of, but like for me, that's not creating opportunities, and that's not like attacking football, which I know we're in the position we're in. We're not really expected to be playing attacking football, but I don't know. I just like the round trip that we did to get there, and for him to go on the interview and say we created loads. It didn't sit right with me, to be honest with you, because I don't know. I wasn't really too happy with those comments.
Same with you, Josh, really.
Apologies, I was on mute. Sorry, run the question back past me again. I was too busy listening to Matt.
Yeah, sorry. Basically, it's just I'll just mention again, just the teams at the bottom. You're looking at Rushall 12, Needham 17, Radcliffe 18, Marine 18, Farsley 21, Warrington 24. I mean, Warrington are 6 points ahead of us. We got a game in hand, and we got them obviously on New Year's Day. So, I mean, is it? Do you think it's just going to be a battle between like 4 of them 6, 7 teams, basically?
Yeah, I absolutely agree, because I don't think really, if you look from first couple of games of the season to where we are now, those teams haven't really moved, have they? It has been the same, probably 6 or 7 teams who have been in the mix, and I think that Warrington game is going to be crucial, isn't it? Really, I think if we've got any hope of staying up, I think that Warrington game we've got to go and win. They're no great team, but if we got 3 points there with a game in hand as well, you're totally flipping it, aren't you? All of a sudden, and then we might be out of the relegation zone, and a couple of results here or there, and maybe that luck that we haven't had first half of the season, we might start to get second half of the season. I mean, you mentioned Oxford, but you have to go back to the first game of the season, don't you? Conceding the goal in the 90th minute against them, where instead of getting 3 points, we only got 1. And it's little things like that will add up. So I do agree, it is going to be between those teams. I can't really see anybody getting away from it or dropping out of that race as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go on to what's been mentioned just then, like you, but we've got to mention the last goals, haven't we? I mean, 12 goals in 22 games is pretty poor, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. And then you look at the away record, I think we've not scored in 9 out of 10 away games, and we've only scored 2. And it means last time we scored an away game in the league was in August. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that, really, Josh? I mean, it's not much to be positive on. I mean, how do we improve it? How do you think we do? Is it simple? We need better players in, or we just need to be better in creating chances?
I mean, I think we do create chances. You look at some of the highlights, we do create chances in patches, but I think for me, it all comes down to the start of the season. And like Matthew and Mike, I probably said it to both of you, but you look at the job Bobby Grant come in and done for us last season, in that second half of the season, got us goals against some of the teams that we needed to do it. But I think against the kind of like the Macclesfields and the Rylands and the bigger games, he struggled to lay a glove on those types of players. And I for one, was like, I think we need to move on from him. Let's not get caught up in a bit of nostalgia. Let's move on and kick forward from there. And again, and it's taken nothing away from Bobby Order's record, but I just don't think he was the player we needed to go into the National League North. And we sign him, probably a decent contract as well. He gets injured, he hasn't played this season, and I think stuff like that just hasn't helped at all. And you know, especially for the likes of me who thought we should move on from there. That hasn't helped majorly. And I just think we've struggled from that point there on in, haven't we, really, just to either keep anybody, you know, we've had some loans, either keeping them at the club or just attracting people. And you've got the issue then of where we are in the league, you're then going to struggle to attract players. So it's a bit of a vicious circle as well, isn't it?
Do you think, going to Matthew in a minute, but do you also feel that, you know, obviously we knew Grant was been injured, but do you feel like we should have really got a striker in the summer because, you know, Grant is 33, so to expect him to play at that level every single game, because that's what it feels like now. We're waiting on Bobby Grant to pretty much save us, isn't it? Whereas I feel like, yeah, you should have had another striker name, and maybe like Bobby, you know, could play a game, you know, just because obviously with the Tuesday game, there's lots to ask for someone who's 33, isn't it? You know, to play at that level.
I think you've honestly, Mike, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think there's a lot of people who were thinking, oh, Bobby, you know, Bobby might be back by February, and, you know, all of a sudden he's going to come in and get us 25 goals. It doesn't work like that. I think we all know that. And he's not that type of player. He does need someone off him, you know, running, creating the chance of someone with a bit of pace. Yes, he man's like a Niall Cummins type player, you know, drop the ball to him anywhere in the 18-yard box and he'll put it in the back of the net. But I think the issue is getting the ball to him in the 18-yard box, and we need somebody off him. And I do wholeheartedly agree. I think we should have probably got another one in with him in the summer. And again, the issue is now we're not really going to get anyone, are we?
No. I'll go with you, Matthew, again, just about the lack of goals and that. I mean, go on, what's your thoughts on it, really? You know, now how do we improve it again? Is this down to bringing someone in, or do you think this current group can score goals?
No, to be honest with you, I don't think they can, because they've had 22 games or whatever it is to prove it, and they haven't. So I don't want to just get like bogged down with the negative stuff, like of not scoring goals, but that's ultimately the main issue that we've got this season. You know, anyone will tell you that, like, the reason we don't look competitive in like the away games is because we don't score any goals. So as soon as, like, you know, in my opinion, a terrible decision, it goes against us on Saturday at South Shields, that penalty was never a pen. That's game over at that point for me. Like, we're just not going to score. So I think we'll see what happens in January, won't we? Because I think that's ultimately when we'll probably look to sign somebody, or maybe get Bobby back. I don't know, but yeah, I just think they got it wrong, didn't they? Like, a few times this season in the forward departments, like the people that they've brought in to replace Bobby Grant haven't been good enough to do that. You know, the likes of, you know, Zimba and probably Enoch as well. I know he tries and he scored a couple for us, but he's not going to get you surviving in the league, is he? You know, he's not someone who you can like hang your hat on to nick you a goal when the game's tight or something. And that's my worry, really, because the games against your Warringtons and a couple of other teams around us are going to be tight games, and I'm not sure if we've got somebody who will take the game by the scruff of the neck and just get us 3 points when, you know, when we really need them. So yeah, I think if it does peter out and we just go back down, then like the issues will be really obvious, and I suppose they already are, aren't they? So.
Yeah. Oh, so we'll talk about the recent games as well now. I obviously went South Leighton, and I thought we played probably the best we played, but again, you know, we missed chances. You know, we missed Keys made save on 2 yards. We missed arguably 2 open goals when you look at it, and you go into scrum for. I mean, that's never. I mean, it's tough. I still can't believe it now. He's given a penalty there. It's an absolute scandalous decision, if you ask me. I mean, if you're given a pen for that, you may as well give 20 pens a game, because that's what happens in the box every set piece corner. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, and I thought that was really harsh. We lost that game because I agree with Josh. I thought, I'm not saying this disrespectfully, but I do think Scotland were one of the worst teams to come to Marine in terms of, you know, how they played. That's, you know, as I said, 4 meters in to win. Probably you're more likely to speak about the South Shields game because you're the only one who went, Matthew. So yeah, just your thoughts on the recent games.
I'm here. I mean, Mucky, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, Matthew, yeah.
Yeah, the South Shields game was absolutely it was a bad game of football. You know, the weather was absolutely awful. Like there was no football being played in the first half, and I think that kind of helped them, to be honest, because we just didn't get to grips with the conditions at all. Really, you know, we were like skewing passes like out of play and just hoofing it long like most of the time, and you know the keepers kind of hit one right to their player for the second goal. So yeah, that was kind of a forgettable game, but like you say, the Scunthorpe one, I mean, we can blame the ref for allowing them back into the game, like, but ultimately we still made the mistake for their second goal, didn't we? And you know he's finished it well, hasn't he? So nothing you can really do about that. But yeah, you know, I think we competed well in the Scunthorpe game. Like, you know, we're gonna be a side who's like, a bit like dogged, aren't we? And like we, you know, we fight for things like in the midfield and kind of get stuck in, but we've got to do it for 90 minutes. Like we just seem to tail off when it gets towards 75, 80 minutes, and the levels drop off. And it seems to be that, you know, when a couple of lads get tired, that the drop off from the starting 11 to the bench is so drastic that the side looks a lot worse when the likes of Finn and even like Charlie Doyle goes off, because he's the one that puts all the graft in the middle, and you know you bring someone on to replace him and he just doesn't do the same job, and we end up tailing off towards the end of games. Like, so they'll have to look at
Do you
that,
think
but yeah,
do you think that teams are full time? Do you think that's a factor because teams are full time, we're part time? And as you said, I do agree. I think when we do make subs, you know, then you know this again, it's not trying to be disrespectful or you know slag people off, but it does feel like there's a drop off, doesn't it?
and you know the thing is though, like some of the players we've had in our team have been full time. Like a lot of some of the players we've got now have been full time in their careers. You know, Joe Matic played 400 odd games in the AFL, and it was him who made the mistake against Scunthorpe. So like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a I don't know necessarily about that. It's just individual error, I think, at times, but systematically, it probably doesn't help that we are part time. You know, the lads aren't probably as fit and you know strong as some of the sides we're coming up against. But I don't know. It's tough, isn't it? It's like Scunthorpe, one of the biggest teams in the league. Well, probably the very biggest. So yeah, yeah, disappointing to lose, but at the end of the day, it was a tough game, wasn't it? And,
yeah, I think that was the hardest one to take, to be honest. Obviously, we've had a lot of knocks, but that one really it's hard. That's one one. But go with you, Josh. Yeah, same thing really about the recent games.
Just recovered from that Scunthorpe game. I don't think I've ever been as furious leaving a football match in my entire life, to be honest with you. I just, it was a collection of things, wasn't it? You know, the referee performance, I think from minute one was just a shambles. And it's funny, you know, like in WhatsApp chats of a weekend with the lads, and you know, the moaning about refereeing decisions in the Premier League. And I go, if you think it's bad in the Premier League, wait till you come and watch a Marine match, and then you will understand how bad it is lower down the league, you know. Again, refereeing decision, yeah, all right, penalty, like you just said. If you're giving penalties for that, then you're getting 20, 25 penalties a game on every set piece, you know, every corner. But me and my dad were walking back to the car, and where a lady, one of the Scunthorpe fans, she turned around and she was like, "You've given us the biggest game we've had all season." She was like, "We deserve nothing from that game." And she said, "We've come away with 3 points," which, you know, pretty much sums it all up, doesn't it? Really, again, lack of application maybe in the final quarter of the game. Matthew got a spot on, didn't he, when he said about, you know, we're game for 75, 80 minutes, and then that last 10 minutes, you just know what's going to happen. And, you know, is it down to applications? It's down to fitness? Maybe so. You know, they were a full-time team as well. And I think collectively they looked stronger, didn't they, over those last 10, 15 minutes, where we might only have a few individuals who are stronger than those last 15 minutes. So I think it's little things like that that do go against us. South Shields game I didn't go to. Again, Christmas family it's too much of an away day. Paul Matthew was texting me, just sending me love really. I think once we got that penalty, they got that penalty. Sorry, the writing was on the wall, wasn't it? Unfortunately, I think if the opposition score, especially when we're away, I don't think there's much down for us, unfortunately. So, but then you know, we go back a couple of weeks ago. the Southport game, and who did we play before them as well? We got two draws from that. Arguably, we maybe should have got 3 points at home. You think, oh, little positives there. We're holding on to games, and then we just kind of slip and slide back down again. So yeah, the next 10 days, 2 weeks are going to be crucial, really, aren't they? I think for where we're going to be going into the new year and obviously going forward.
Yeah, I think it was the spinning ball game you're thinking of, Ernie, that we should have.
Yeah, that was it. Because Devon and Southport were right by each other as well, weren't they, in the league? So
yeah. I mean, it's obviously just been announced, hasn't it? But don't know if you've seen, Josh, but the new ground's been announced. Or they've said they've agreed the plot.
Yes.
So my view on it is like, because I'm not from like Cosby area myself, like, but you see quite a lot of people going on trains to Marine, and especially when the game's finished. So I think obviously I do think we do need to move in the future, if we want to be like, going up leagues or anything like that. But I also think like transport is massively important, because if the plot is in the middle of nowhere, for instance, I do think it's going to affect numbers. I mean, basically, what's your thoughts on it, really? Obviously, about the new ground and where you hope it's going to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we've been playing a bit of a guessing game, really, on where the plot of land could be, and I'm not going to say them on this, but there's a couple of ones, and you go, oh yeah, they might be good for road links, but again, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Having public transport links probably aren't that good, especially in and around Crosby. We've only got a couple of train stations that are on the same line, and then you've got nothing really. So. But I think just as a club and going forward, we can't knock it the way what they're wanting to build and what they're wanting to do, and we've got to do it. I think you know where I stand on the halfway line, and I love standing on the halfway line. Gives us the best spot view of the game and stuff. But that stand just as a whole, it is starting to show its wear and tear, and you've got to step down the middle, and when we have busy games and fans are going backwards and forwards, it's just a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. And I don't think we can sustain that going forwards. And facilities wise as well, with like probably the toilets and the bars and stuff, we've done a lot of good things at the moment, looking to improve the ground, but you only have to look at the far ends with like those toilets, for example. They're not fit really, I think, for the football ground. So it's brilliant news for the club, 100% the right thing that we need to do. But again, it's to do with funding, isn't it? And we've got to get it right as well, and the right area.
Yeah. Go you, Matthew. What's your thoughts on?
Yeah, I think a couple of people have kind of suggested today that they hope that this doesn't kind of distract from the pressing matter, which is obviously the league campaign, isn't it? Like, people don't want to get caught up thinking about a new stadium, and we continue to slip down the league table, because if we go back down to the NPL and then we're looking to build a new ground, people are thinking like, well, what's the point? You know what I mean? We've got to first make sure we stay in the league, so we can then build on it and establish ourselves as a National North club, and then look to build a new stadium. But yeah, I don't know. It's obviously can't really comment too much, can you, until you know where it is, like, because it could be next to Blundellsand Station or something, for all we know. But yeah, if it's in one of the places I think it'll be, and then there's probably not like the greatest transport links, is there? And I think you'll get a few people who kind of think, well, like, the more casual fans, obviously, like us lot will always just go anyway, like, and follow the away games too. But the casuals will think, well, people just go to the game like for a bevy, don't they, and to watch some football. But yeah, if they can't kind of do that like easy enough from the ground, then they'll probably think, oh well, like, probably just swerve it off and just go somewhere else. So it is important that they kind of get it right, and look to build at least something at the ground, so the people can do what they want to do there anyway.
Yeah, I was just going to go on the next question, really. Well, and I'm just speculating more about the budget. Obviously, we know the grounds needed improvements, which you need to do obviously by March, don't you? Because obviously you can get relegated, can't you, automatically if you guys are not to scratch. I mean, so I'd say, from my personal opinion, it does appear like the budget is lower than last season, because if you look at the players that we signed last season, and the team we had last season, you'd have to say this team's weaker than last season, wouldn't you? I mean, and again, what would be, and this is probably a simple question, but what would be a successful season now? I'll go with you, Josh.
Got to be staying up, hasn't it? You know, let's be honest. I think majority of us said that anyway, didn't we? You know, we were under no illusion that it was going to be our toughest season in a while. We've been absolutely spoiled, haven't we, the last 2 or 3 seasons, and it's going to be our toughest season in a while. I did say, look, staying up. I don't care if it's by the skin of our teeth. Let's just try and stay up, because then at least we'll be able to build on that. And I think that's still the aim, to be honest with you, to try and stay up. I think you said, Mike, we haven't looked out of place at times. You know, we're putting fights up, but it's just that kind of lack of experience, lack of goal scoring at the top level. That's starting to kill us. So I think for me, if we can stay up, great. You know, but yeah, who knows? You know, we could be in 6 months' time having a discussion of where we'll be. We won't know.
Yeah, go on, same with you, Matthew. What's your thoughts?
Well, I suppose going out both the cup competitions at the first hurdle can be seen as probably a bit of a blessing, can't it? You know, we've had all 3 of the cup competitions, I suppose. We've had good runs in the FA Cup, haven't we, last few years, but that was definitely bottom of the priority list, I think, this year. And the Liverpool Senior Cup won that back to back, haven't we? But nobody really cared about that this year when we've got such a big task ahead of us, which is staying in the National North, obviously. Yeah, I think we've just got to keep picking up points if we can. Like, you know, we've had some all right results away from home, you know, and that's only 0-0. Like 0-0 away to Southport and 0-0 away to Kiddie, which we could have won both of those games. Like, that's just the annoying thing, isn't it? Like, if we were a little bit more clinical, we'd have a lot more points on the board right now, and just nicking games 1-0. Like, we definitely should have done that a couple of times this year, like at least just nick a game 1-0, like the Southport one or the Kiddie game, when, you know, Finn had that chance against Kidderminster, which he, you know, last year he probably scores like easily. So yeah, I think just we've got to focus on survival, haven't we? Really, that, I mean, everyone knows that, like, but make the home games count. Make the MTA a bit of a fortress, like teams won't want to come here. Starting with Chester on Thursday, just give everyone a game at home, take it to them. And if we can't muster anything up away from home, then we've just got to focus on the home games, haven't we? And proper, like, go for it there.
Yeah, I'll stay with you. Actually, I've got the fixtures coming up. We've got Chester home, Warrington away, Kidderminster home, Kingsley away, and Buxton home, which is quite daunting when we up the league positions. But I do feel like after them games, we've got a lot of the teams around us. So I think the key is, can we stay within touching distance with them teams? I mean, before that, after these games, I mean, what do you feel about them 5 games? I mean, 3 of them are at home, and you do feel like we can give teams our own, don't you?
Yeah, of course. It's just, you know, they look like tough games on paper, don't they? But the tougher games on paper we've actually won this year. Like Chorley at home, everyone thought, oh, they'll lose that. We went and beat them 3-0, like, and Buxton away, that, you know, they were doing well up until recently. Um, and we went and beat them 2-1 somehow. I don't know how that happened, but um, I think just, you know, we are capable of pulling off, you know, a bit of a shock result every now and again if everything aligns perfectly for us. We could definitely win like at least 2 or 3 of those games if we start to get a bit of a run together and get a bit of momentum. Like Warrington Town, you got to be looking to win that. Like, you know, if we want to stay in this division, you got to be looking to win games like that. Like, teams around you as well. Um, Chester at home, got to be looking to win that for me as well. Like, I know it's easy to say that, and we're in the relegation zone, but they're not going to be miles better than us, are they? You know what I mean? Chester, like,
I want to add, Chester have got the 20th worst away record in the league.
Well, exactly, and that just backs up my point, really. Like, we've got to take it to them, and not be scared of them, and actually, like, you know, like, realize we are where we deserve to be in this league, and actually go at teams. Like I've said this before, but it's just whether we've got the players to do that, really.
Yeah, go with you, Josh.
Yeah, I think we've got to get a win against either Chester or Warrington. I think for me that's a non-negotiable. We've got to get 3 points in one of those games. You can go, oh yeah, 2 draws again. No, let's try and get 3 points in at least one of those games. There's nothing to fear, especially with Warrington. We only played them a couple of years ago, didn't we? When we were in the same league. There's nothing to fear against these teams at all. Chester, yeah, a club may be big in stature, but for all the moanings about being in the Tin Pot League, they've been in it for 7 years. So, no great team. We can absolutely go at them and just try and do something. Like I say, just even if we got a point there, try and get 3 points against Warrington or vice versa, I think that could be huge and really kickstart the season. Again, maybe a couple of difficult games coming up in the new year, but then after that, we're starting to play teams in all around us then, and then, especially if we've got a bit more points on the board, that can be huge.
Right, yeah, I'll go on to obviously the next one, really. I mean, obviously it's been a tough season in it, but who's been like standout performers this season? I mean, I think recently Lee Whelan is like, I'll be honest, like I wasn't sure he's going to be good enough, but I thought the last few weeks he's been brilliant. You obviously mentioned people like Gregson and Montgomery Atchison being good as well. You can't really say anyone up front, can you? Because obviously we haven't scored many goals. So yeah. But what's your like standout performance this season, Josh?
It's hard for me because I've been a bit hit and miss. I've just with games, obviously going forward now, we've seen most of them. Again, I think Gregson, when he's played, hasn't really missed a beat, has he? Was it last week? Was it against Scunthorpe when he looked absolutely superb, to be honest? I thought Charlie Doyle coming back in as well. Shout out to him. We've been out for pretty much a season.
Yeah.
Neil stuck by him, obviously seen something there. I've always loved Charlie Doyle as a player. He's only about 23, 24 as well, isn't he? And I think he's brought a bit of energy, a bit of running into the midfield that we probably needed. So I've been made up with him and watching him how he's played come back. Let's be honest, he hasn't looked out of place. So I think for me, yeah, obviously him. He's one of the main ones. Shout out to Brown as well. I think he's been a good sign. He's got the experience, and I don't really think the defence has been our problem really overall, has it? So he's been a great sign for us.
Yeah, same with you, Matthew. Who's been your standout performance this season?
Yeah, I think Tom Atchison's been very good for us coming in from Blackburn, but at the moment he can't even get off the bench. So it's been interesting, hasn't it? Really, the way he's kind of took players out of the team and put them back in at different times. Like James Butler's come in now and seems to made that centre back position his own now. Obviously, with Doyle being injured, like you'd imagine, it'd go back to Doyle and Wardle as a back four, or even Doyle, Butler, Wardle as a back five, maybe, or even Atchison over Butler in the back five. I don't know, but Whelan's been good recently, hasn't he? Just James Brown has been a good signing, like Josh said there. And as you said, it's tough to really comment on anyone further up the pitch because it seems most of the games we're bemoaning the lack of goals and lack of chances that we really haven't. So I just think kind of we've been all right, but we haven't been good. I think that's what I'd probably say.
Yeah.
2, 1. Yeah, right. So I'm going to go into the next thing. Obviously, I think you touched on it before, didn't you, Josh? About National League North was promotion too soon.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that, and then the thoughts of the dynamics of the league, because obviously when you're seeing clubs like Cage and Thatchton top the league on like crowds of 250, and then you see Peterborough pretty much safe with them crowds. I was saying this to someone actually who does go away, and they thought like with our crowd we should comfortably stay in this league or we should be going for promotion. It doesn't work like that because these clubs have got secret backers. I mean, how do you think about that? Because I just feel like unless we do get a backer or some sort, it is going to be a struggle in this league unless we do it organically, where we progress year on year and try and do it that way.
I think that's something we've always tried to do, haven't we? We've always done it organically. We've been very open and straightforward with our finances and where our money comes from and that type of things. I think a lot of it's self-generated as well, isn't it? You look at the Spurs money, we reinvested that into different things to then start bringing money into the club. And That's what I mean. When I said that earlier, it probably did come in maybe a season or two too soon. And, again, just to reiterate, I'm not taking that away from the players, Neil, or, any of the bloody volunteers and the people in the background who were doing all the hard work, because, they do an awful lot for the club, and a shout out to them. But I think, Kears and Ashton, attendance is 250, but the top of the league, and comfortably, I think the best team we've all seen as well at the MTA this season. It does kind of read its ugly heads again, doesn't it, in regards to finances and where do we get the money from? Do we look to maybe get money in from elsewhere? But it's a tough one, isn't it? Because we've all seen with clubs before who sometimes bring people in who've got money, they splash the cash, they don't splash it very well, and then before you know it, they're back in trouble. So I think you've got to be very careful with how you do it. In an ideal world, yes, that would be great, but I think the way we do it, we are doing it right. I just think we're probably struggling at this level just due to the finances of other teams, full-time teams who are well-established, got lots of money behind them. I think that's just where we are struggling at the moment.
Yeah, same with you, Matthew. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I suppose like having bigger crowds don't always guarantee like success, do they? I mean, that's pretty much what you're getting at. But I think when it comes to getting players in, I think now we're struggling because of where we are, in the league. Nobody really wants to sign to join a relegation battle at this point, do they? Whereas I think, touching on an earlier point about how last year's squad was probably better than the one we've got this year. I think last year we were with two things really. We were a much more exciting proposition to join as a player. The Northern Prem, we would like fighting around the top of the league, winning games like most weeks. And in addition to that, we also took chances on a couple of players who weren't deemed good enough for the National League North, if you know what I mean. The likes of Freddie Sass got let go by Southport, didn't he? And Bainbridge, they cast him off to one side as well. And also Chris Doyle, they said that the Southport fans said that he wouldn't be good enough for the National League North, which just shows to me that we took a couple of chances on players and it paid off, whereas now we're struggling with taking chances on players from leagues below. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, it was a shame, wasn't it? We lost the likes of Sass and Bainbridge, especially, unbelievable players, weren't they, last year? You could see when they come in, our season kind of changed, didn't it? And then, like you say, Chris Doyle as well, no one needs to be said about him. Teams who cast off brought to us, and I think, imagine if we would have been able to keep even one of Sass or Bainbridge, who plays at that level, has been absolutely huge for us. And the issue is we lose them, then you're trying to scramble about to find players of similar caliber, aren't you? Which you're going to struggle with. So then again, you have to take punts on players from the league below, and that's where it starts coming to an issue. I don't think many of those players have lasted long after they weren't getting the game, or they were on the bench and they didn't like it and they moved on quickly. So it's a bit of a vicious circle in that respect.
Just to add in to that point, the question about talking about whether the promotion came too soon for us. I think it was kind of a perfect storm last year for us, wasn't it? We had a very good side, which was proved to be, one of the two best sides in the league, and that boils down to having the players that we had, and also the feel good factor like around the club was there, and also the likes of Sol Solomon. We had him for what 2 seasons. Like you've got to make use of players like him when you get them, and in terms of like going for the promotion, you're not going to have him a year after or 2 seasons after to try and go for it then. So we made use of players like him while we had him, and obviously got the promotion. He was massive, played a massive part in that. So like I don't know whether we'd have really done as well this season in that league without him and Grant, obviously, was injured.
Yeah, obviously going on to the next thing really, if obviously a bit more positive, how would you reflect on the last 5 years as the what the club's achieved, and obviously the growing fan base? So go with you, Matthew.
Yeah, I mean it's chalk and cheese. From when I started coming in about 2017, I think. Yeah, it's just growing exponentially, hasn't it? Really, it's like just absolutely night and day between the two clubs. It literally is like two different clubs, like from 2017 to now, like crowds of 300 or so. No, not even that. Like when I started coming, 250, whatever it is. But as we've seen, that can be enough to win you the National League North. So shouldn't moan too much about that. But yeah, to get where we are now, it's just been unbelievable, hasn't it? Really, like people that would never kind of even think about going to a Marine game or like messaging me now saying, like, how do I get tickets? And, like, will this game be a sellout? And you think, well, 6, 7 years ago, no game would be a sellout really, other than the Salford game or a couple of FC United games, maybe when they brought a lot of fans. But like, yeah, it's just the club's just grown and grown on year, hasn't it? So I think this year, like I said on the Scunthorpe podcast that I went on, it's been kind of a real like leveler for us, and we've just got to try and just stay in the league, haven't we? And kind of keep building. Obviously, with this new stadium, that's the next kind of like point we've got to reach, really.
Yeah, go with you, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much the same as Matthew. I started going back end of, no, actually it was early. I think it was back end of 2016. I started going, 2017, and ended up giving up my Liverpool ticket for Marine, and raised a lot of eyebrows. Why have you done that? Why are you going to Marine? But I think from that point onwards, apart from the god awful season in 2018 where we got relegated, but it kind of gave a big reset to the club, didn't it? And it was what we needed at that time. And like Matthew said, we used to go over Saturday, and I remember once we got a crowd over 400, and we were like, wow, 400, like, oh, it was shocking here today. And now we're going over weekends, and you're not getting a crowd less than 11, 1,200 people. So, it just shows how far we have come. Yes, I think the Spurs game helped a lot, didn't it? But I also think as well, just in regards to how well we've been doing on the pitch, if you look at our local rivals, for example, the likes of City and Liverpool, who are going to drop into the counties, I think, next year, Bootle just can't seem to kick on, can they? And, for lads who are local who might want to start going to non-league, if you're stuck between a couple of clubs, you probably are going to look to go at Marine, aren't you? You're going to see probably a better caliber of player, better standard of football. So I just think everything has come at the right time. And, shout out to all those in the background, all the volunteers, who do all the work and put the hard yards in for us behind the scenes, because, without them, it wouldn't be possible. And I think if you look at a 5-year journey, you couldn't have wrote it. I don't think anybody in our wildest dreams would have said, we'll be in the National League North this year. Not a chance. And I just think just try and stay up whatever way we can. But again, I want us to do it properly, and I think the club are fully aware of that. Don't be skitting ourselves trying to do it and create ourselves problems going forward. Let's try and do it properly. If we don't, we don't. But we're not putting the club at risk or doing anything that we shouldn't be. And I think that's kind of always been the motto of the club. We've always done things properly, so fair play to them for that. But again, I think just stay up and just focus on that this season.
Yeah. To be fair, though, the TCW did predict that we'd get to the National League North after the Tottenham game.
There you just go.
Go on to the last one now, wrap up after this. Do you think, obviously you just mentioned it, do you think perspective is needed really? Because I just felt there, if we hadn't got promoted and we were in around the playoffs, no one would really say, everyone would be really happy, wouldn't they? You just said, the 5 years, what we've achieved in such a short space of time. I don't think anyone is like sitting there going shouting Youngie out. I don't think anyone says that, do they? Everyone's still, behind the players, who are here and, want us to stay up in it. But do you think there does need to be a bit of perspective, right now, where we are as a club and, what we're trying to do in it? I'll go with you, Josh.
Yeah, again, I think we all, for those of us who've been going, season in, season out, there was that bit first couple of games of the season. This is a new big thing for us. It's going to be a bit of an adventure, and it's proved to be the case, hasn't it? I don't think anyone's really got it wrong. It was going to be a struggle for us. We've admitted that. All right, some things haven't gone to plan. Maybe we could talk about recruitment, even a few of the decisions the managers have made, and they're not in that, so they're not immune to that. Sorry, just because of the position they're in, they're not immune to criticism. But I just think, again, comes back to the journey the club has been on. you know, the way the club's being ran, we've got kind of a long-term goal. Nobody expected us to be in this position. And I think, you know, 99% of fans of the weekend, yeah, all right, we might be a bit of annoyed, a bit upset after game, especially the Scunthorpe one, for example. But, you know, it's no real reflection on the effort the players are putting in, or, you know, what the management and stuff are doing. I just think sometimes you're coming up against more experienced, better caliber opposition, and that's showing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then wrap up with you, Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, look, all football fans are reactionary, aren't they? You know, me being the ultimate culprit of that. So yeah, I think people just like when we just like throw games away like in the last minutes, or you know, we kind of get battered, which we have a couple of times this year, like the Hereford game. Like I was a bit annoyed after that game. But like you say, you do have to just like put it into perspective, like where we've come from and like now where we are, and how great like the journey we've been on that has been, like how well we've done to get up 2 leagues and obviously third round of the FA Cup. Like it's like unheard of for a non-league side, isn't it? Really, not unheard of, but like very rare. So for that to happen was like completely transformed the fortunes of the club, didn't it? And obviously the manager's been like probably the main. You know, he's the only person that's still here from the Tottenham run. So he's the one that's like spearheaded everything. You know, like that's kind of got us through the Tottenham run, got us promoted from that league, then got us promoted from the Northern Premier League. It's like just deserves so much credit for what he's done for the club. And you know, nobody's gonna start saying like young out or anything, are they? I mean, that'd just be ridiculous for like where we are now as opposed to where we've been. Like, how can anyone complain at all? Like, even though at times this year we've looked a bit like toothless and stuff in some of the games, but as I say, like perspective is needed, isn't it? And like, yeah, nobody can really moan with how far we've come in the last 5 years like, at all. Like every club who's in like the Northern Prem or Northern Prem West would happily like swap our 5 years like for theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so going to wrap up there and say thanks to Josh and Matty for joining us. Obviously, if you'd like and subscribe to the channel, it'd be great. We obviously got Chester on Boxing Day with a sellout. What could go wrong after the Bootle game, if you remember a few years ago? We've still got 9 minutes about.
That was COVID, to be fair. That was COVID that ruined us, wasn't it? That day, blind.
But yeah, going to wrap up there. Thanks for joining us, Matty, and then Josh. Much appreciated.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers,
Thank you.
later.